WWE, you missed a big one here. Whoa, this was a missed opportunity. You have a championship tournament where Randy Savage is going to walk out with the title. You have a situation where Randy Savage is going to meet the winner of a Ricky Steamboat-Greg Valentine match in a championship tournament. And you have Greg Valentine go over? Really? It never dawned on you to do that big rematch? 1 year later, Savage and Steamboat meet up in the second round of the tournament? That idea never crossed? I don't know. That's not winning, guys, as Charlie Sheen would say. It's losing, not winning. You know, I can't believe they did that. I'm not saying that a match between Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 4 would have been as good as the WrestleMania 3 match, because it wouldn't have been. Different atmosphere. You know, sequel's almost never as good as the first one. Yada, 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 all that jazz. But it still would have been a great moment for Savage to topple his former rival in the championship tournament. You know, Savage goes down for... Or Steamboat goes down for Savage on Savage's path to glory. And it would have been a nice callback to Savage's past. And, you know, things that I talk about all the time about character paths leading into Mania and shit like that. It would have been great to reference Savage's past in that way. And they didn't do it. And I thought that was kind of disappointing. Here you had two guys that could have easily had the match of the night on this pay-per-view, because this was not the most stellar WrestleMania from a wrestling perspective. I enjoyed the moment of Savage winning the title and stuff like that, but there were no real stellar matches on the show, and I felt like Savage and Steamboat could have given that, and it would have added a big spark to the tournament, and it would have added more significance to Randy Savage's rise to the top. Would have been cool, but they didn't do it. There's not much else to say besides that. It was just a major missed opportunity, and it's very unfortunate. Okay, I'm going to take a different approach with rebooking WrestleMania here, and I'm going to talk about restructuring a match. Rather than changing the finish or the placement on the card or talking about how this match should have happened instead of this match, I'm actually going to take a match that did happen, Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg. I'm going to talk about how it should have been put together and how it should have been structured as a match. Because for those of you who actually saw WrestleMania 20, you saw one of the worst matches in the history of wrestling. I'm not even close to kidding. Goldberg versus Lesnar was a stinker. I can't think of too many main event matches that big, especially at WrestleMania, that bombed that badly. I mean, it was a bomb. Arguably the worst WrestleMania match in history. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. The fans shat all over it. The match was boring. But I still think the match should have happened. It should have been put together differently. Some people use the excuse, well, Lesnar was leaving and Goldberg was leaving, and the fans were kind of... They were really harping on Lesnar's case, not so much Goldberg's at first, up until the match really took a nosedive and was boring. But in Lesnar's case, they all knew he was leaving, and the MSG fans really gave him a hard time. I think that could have added to the match, because the fans were really interested and really passionate in their hatred towards Brock Lesnar for leaving. And with these two guys, you've got two guys that are legit badass motherfuckers. Look at them. They're fucking monsters. They are Vatican warlock assassins. Just total badasses. And booking a match between these two should have been easy. It's the kind of match, and granted, Goldberg's not the greatest worker in the world, and I don't think Lesnar was either. I thought he was kind of sloppy, but these were two guys that were protected real well at their creative peaks. Protected real well, presented really well, and were believable in their roles. And I think when you put those two guys together, mapping a match out should be kind of easy, because there's so many spots that I can come up with of what to do with these two. One big spot that I think should have happened, they should have done something where Goldberg got knocked down, like Lesnar takes him down with a big slam or something, or maybe even an F5. Goldberg kicks out, and in a moment you see Lesnar stand up, look to the turnbuckle, and kind of look back at Lesnar and go, and I think fans would have put it together, and hopefully the commentators would have made the call. Jim Ross was there, I know he would have. They would have thought, oh my God, he's not going for the shooting star press again. Not have him actually do it, because I don't want Lesnar to die, but just have that moment where he's teasing doing the shooting star press again, just to kind of again, call back to Lesnar's past and do something at WrestleMania, do kind of a repeat or something. And I think that would have been interesting. I think I would have done a spot where Goldberg probably should have speared Lesnar through a fucking security wall or something. Just because Austin was the referee, and I thought, okay, with that kind of character as the law of the match, he's not going to disqualify anybody. So you have free reigns to do whatever the hell you want. I think they could have done this just wild, brawling, crazy match all over the arena with all kinds of power moves and all kinds of just crazy shit. I think it could have worked really well. And if you want a taste of what... And I'll post it in the description because I'm pretty sure I can find it on YouTube. If you want a taste of what Lesnar versus Goldberg should have been, there was a match between Scott Steiner and Bill Goldberg in WCW Fall Brawl, I believe. Great match. I'm not kidding. That was an awesome power match between two legit monster badass characters. And to me, it's what Lesnar versus Goldberg should have been. Just this really high intensity, high power monster battle. And it should have been more like that. But instead what we got was a very boring match where it seemed like they spent half the match just staring at each other. None of the moves were really all that interesting. It was just... Their heart clearly wasn't in the match, and whoever booked it was way off base. I think they thought, hey, go out there and stare at each other for a long time, because it worked for Hogan, and the fans will eat it up, but they didn't. It was a train wreck. But yeah, Goldberg-Lesnar could have been a lot better than it was. It wasn't. Too bad. Alright, following off of what I said with WrestleMania 20's Lesnar versus Goldberg match, this is going to be a discussion about restructuring a match. And well, two matches, actually. WrestleMania 21's two championship matches. And I said in an earlier video that, minus a couple of mistakes, WrestleMania 21 could have been one of the best. I mean, you had Michaels versus Angle, which was an excellent match. Taker versus Orton. Very first Money in the Bank. Eddie and Ray was pretty good. The first half of the show was pretty amazing. But then you get into the title matches, and that's kind of where the show falters, because there were a lot of flaws with both of those matches. It was JBL versus John Cena for the WWE title, and Batista versus Triple H for the world title. And starting with JBL and John Cena, oh god, they really fucked this one up. Even the announcers, see, I seem to recall Michael Cole saying, when the match was over, that was it? Because Cena just kind of beat JBL, and that was it. Just an FU, and that was it. And the major problem with this match, first of all, if you look at JBL's title reign, which my take on JBL as champion is... I actually ended up enjoying him as champion. I will say that. I enjoyed his reign. I liked the character. I liked the presentation. I liked a lot of the things that he was doing. My only problems with it were how it started. He was probably the first guy that the WWE pushed way too soon with no build-up or whatever, and they just put the guy in that spot and expected us to buy it. And so there was that, and the other problem was how it ended, which was this WrestleMania match. You know, guy was champion for 10 months, and he just loses it in this very uneventful match that really didn't do any favors for anybody, and I'll explain why. Throughout JBL's entire title reign, he couldn't win a match clean to save his fucking life. Which, again, if you want to go the Weasel heel route, that's perfectly fine. I accept that. That's fine. And JBL would always have outside interference. He had help to beat The Undertaker. He had help to get through Kurt Angle. He had help to get through Booker T. And that match with Big Show, that cage match, that was one of the best finishes I've ever seen. One of the best Weasel heel finishes I've ever seen. I thought it was hysterical. I loved it. And... so yeah, the problem wasn't that the wrestlers couldn't beat JBL, it was that they couldn't get through all the obstacles. They couldn't get through all the bullshit. So if John Cena was going to beat JBL, he was going to have to get through all the bullshit. We get to WrestleMania, where the fuck was the cabinet? You know, where was JBL's outside interference? He came out with nobody, and nobody interfered to help him. So in the end, JBL, or John Cena, didn't overcome the odds to beat JBL. He beat JBL in a fair and square fight, and... you know, JBL never has fair and square fights, so yeah, if it's fair and square, he's going to lose. You know, we all knew that. It was just a very uneventful way to present John Cena's first title win, and I thought that really hurt Cena, actually, because it was such an uneventful way to do it. And, you know, my opinions of the John Cena character aside, that is not how you want to establish somebody as a first-time champion if again, I talked about it last time with Austin and Michaels. Austin, his title win was handled so perfectly, and that should be the template of how you do it. And they didn't do that here, and it was, unfortunately for me, because I thought, like I said, I kind of like JBL as champion. I thought hopefully he goes out with a bang, and that kind of silences the critics a little bit. No, they just booked this match completely wrong. Mess, absolute mess, and this match felt like a filler match, quite honestly, and it shouldn't have, given JBL's long title reign and the way they had built up Cena over the course of the year. It was just the wrong way to do it. And I also think they should have gotten the main event spot, because I just thought the setup between the two was far more interesting, which I'll get into Batista and Triple H right now. Them being former Evolution partners was fine, and that was a good way to set it up, but the night where Batista turned on Triple H was fucked up so badly, because they had to do that stupid backstage segment that made absolutely no sense, where Triple H reveals his master plan, that he was trying to, coerce Batista to go to SmackDown and face JBL for the title, and oh my fucking god, that was terrible. Again, why is Triple H acting like there's no camera there? It makes no sense. And why does the camera pan back and show Batista right outside the room listening on the whole conversation? Good. Not winning! Again. Just, ugh. But then we get to WrestleMania, and the build-up leading into WrestleMania, the weeks going through, every confrontation that the two had ever had, Batista and Triple H, was that Batista was just the one guy, the perfect physical specimen that could just outdo Triple H at everything. He could overpower him, he could outsmart him because he knew Triple H in and out. He was just a perfect match to take down Triple H. And if I were going to use a previous match to compare how this match should have been booked, I would have thought they would have gone the Goldberg-Hogan route. And what I mean by that is, if you watch that match, Hogan hits Goldberg with everything he can, every shot, and Goldberg just keeps coming. Because Goldberg's a fucking monster, right? And nothing Hogan does has any kind of long-term effect, and he's just got to keep backpedaling and backpedaling, and Goldberg just keeps moving forward and forward until eventually he hits his big moves and finishes Hogan off. And I think that's how this match should have been booked. Instead, they went with the long match route, a long competitive match, which didn't do Batista any favors because he has to sell in that situation, and they have to work a comeback and all that stuff, and Batista's not good at selling. He's just not. That's not one of his strong points. But with a physique like that and a look like that, he shouldn't have to sell all that often. He's a fucking monster. You just let him fucking go, unleash the tiger blood, and go kill some motherfuckers. And that's how I would have booked the match. I would have had Batista just... Triple H just keeps hitting Batista and then backpedaling, trying to run away, and Batista keeps coming forward and eventually hits the Batista bomb and wins. So, basically, I would have switched the two matches and how they were booked. But, they just didn't book the matches right. There's no other way to say it. You could argue that the right guys went over, but they didn't handle the title wins as well as they should have, and I think Batista ended up getting kind of exposed because, like I said, he doesn't sell very well. And Cena, it was just a really, really lackluster start to his title reign, so much so that it probably should have been held off until after WrestleMania for him to win the title. I know WrestleMania is the big place to win the belt and everything, but if they were going to do that to the match, they might as well have just not had him win the title. Just have JBL sneak out of there with a DQ or something. But nothing you can do to fix it now. So that's WrestleMania 21. It's a very good one. Change these matches up a little bit, and subtract things like the sumo match. I did not want to see Big Show in a thong. Thank you. Change a few things like that, and you've got, I think, one of the best WrestleManias. But it's still a really good one.